Hi, welcome, and this is day 4 of our Take 5 looks through this week, and I hope that you're finding them thought-provoking at least, and maybe helpful too. We're jumping into Acts 7 today. Now remember, in yesterday's one we mentioned at the end about Stephen, who had been declaring the gospel. He's been arrested for this and so forth. He'd been healing people and so on. And then we see them really sort of trying to get at him, and he's sitting there with the face of an angel, it says. But go on into chapter 7. He gives this long speech. That's why we've only given you chapter 7 today and not 2 chapters like we've done the rest of the week, because it's a long speech, and most of it in there you would recognize if you read it through, because he's basically talking to them and reminding them about people of the Jewish faith. Remember, that's who he's talking to. And so he's saying, look, remember Abraham, remember Moses, and he gives lots of details. He talks about Joseph and so on, and he reminds them of the things that those men of God had done. And he carries on through in quite some detail, and he talks about the fact that the ancestors refused to obey Moses, and had done this before, of course. They just get on with their own life and ignore, and so they had made a golden calf and so on. He gives all of this detail which they know about, but he's reminding them of it, because he then gets down to a really sort of strong, insult really, but saying something very strongly, because he describes them. He says, "You stiff-necked people." Now that's not an insult I've heard used very much in recent times, but it really was saying to them, you are so stiff, you don't bend with the Lord. He says, your hearts and ears are still uncircumcised. In other words, you're still thinking the same way as ordinary men. You're not thinking godly ways. He said, you resist the Holy Spirit. And it says that after all of this, basically Stephen were given the punishment. He was told that he is going to die. And what does he do? He looks up and he declares what he can see. He says, I see the glory of God and Jesus standing at the right hand of God. Wow. Isn't that incredible? And he's supposed to be getting scared and, fearful because he's about to be killed. No. So they rush him, they start stoning him, and he uses words that similar to Jesus praying in when he was on the cross. Jesus had said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they do. And that's mirrored here by Stephen when he says, Lord, don't hold this sin against them. Isn't that fantastic? He is declaring, look, I know these people don't know you, God, so they can't understand, but I want them to be forgiven. I don't want you to hold this against them. And when he had finished praying that, he died. It says he fell asleep. And so I just challenge you with this. Of course, we're in a very different world now, certainly in our society, in Britain and so on, where perhaps this is unlikely to happen. But we can be persecuted in many different ways. People will say things about us as believers of Christ and as disciples of him. They will try to make us feel like we're stupid and that we must be mad to believe all this stuff. The reality is we're not just believing it, we are living the life of it. And we are living a life guided by the Holy Spirit of God. And so, don't be afraid of those who might speak against you. They don't speak against you, they speak against the very Spirit of God through Jesus Christ. And so, we need not be afraid to stand and speak out and tell people about who God is and what Jesus has done, because it's the truth, and the truth will help to set them free. God bless.